want more. Crying babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day, and every clue, don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets, with the people in the slums and the homeless bums, with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers. Cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack, and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute, you might hear, but they won't, cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.
Alright, y'all. It is officially October the 1st, and the U.S. federal government has entered into a quote-unquote shutdown. Because why? Because Congress failed to pass funding legislation before the deadline. Now, keep in mind, these are people that are paid by the taxpayer, right? They get their salaries, which pay their bills, by the taxpayers of the United States. Yes, everybody that clocks in, that has a job, that clocks in 9 to 5, they actually, they pay into the federal budget. And, there's a lot of people that don't know that taxpayers pay federal income tax, but that's how it works in the United States of America. And so it's gone into a shutdown. Now, it's still, maybe there's people that don't know what a shutdown means, but here's what's happening in terms of that, right? What a U.S. federal government shutdown means: when funding lapses, many federal agencies cannot legally continue all operations. Don't know if you know out there, a lot of people may not know exactly what a shutdown means, but that is part of that meaning. So non-essential workers, that's the people that are not essential, right, are typically furloughed and sent home without pay, right? And that's reported by ABC News as of 6 hours ago, y'all. Yes. Now, some essential services continue: national security, military operations, air traffic control, emergency services. That's also been reported by ABC News. if you're into the news, agencies have been directed to execute orderly shutdown plans. That's also been reported, right? They've been ordered to do that by the federal government, right? Shutdowns can disrupt things like public health agencies, research, and oversight work. Agency programs, new grants, non-essential licensing inspections, right? And so non-essential stuff. Many federal employees pay, although historically Congress has authorized back pay for furlough employees after the shutdown ends. So that means even if you don't get paid right now, some people will get paid later when Congress takes some action, right? And we don't know when that could be. That could be whenever. That could be whenever. As partisan as the United States is right now, and as hateful, I would say, as some of the politics has been. I mean, you're dealing with politics right now where essentially, hospitals are being shut down, lies are being disseminated about why, people have been making up this thing about immigrants, immigrants, immigrants. That's why the federal government, we don't want to do this because of the immigrants are getting, but actually that's been lies too. It's slick lying, but it's lies. But in any case, the longer the shutdown lasts, the more damage to services, to worker morale, and to economic confidence. Now, it can affect the economy also. Okay, are parties still ready to meet to negotiate? Yes, there's ongoing expectation. Both parties expect to have talks, they just don't know when exactly. Okay, after the votes that failed in the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer urged Republicans to return to the negotiating table. Okay, yeah, all of this has been if you've been watching the U.S. news, all of this has been documented. The White House ordered agencies to begin shutdown procedures. That's also been reported. So the White House has ordered, there to be some kind of orderly shutdown procedures and outlined that they would be prepared for an orderly shutdown, signaling that the executive branch expects to continue government even during negotiations. Okay, so Trump is going to stay in the office, but he's a hardworking guy, man. He's at work every day, but he is eating off the taxpayer dollar. I mean, he's eating steak dinners, going golfing on the taxpayer dollars. So no matter what, he gets his check because he's an essential employee, right? He won't get furloughed, his check. And the taxpayers pay that too. The same taxpayers that won't get access to health care actually pay into the federal through their federal income tax. So it's interesting how that works in the U.S. That doesn't, it works a little different in other Western countries, but sudden that's how it is. Media reports describe that further votes are expected in Congress even during the shutdown. So some members are there, right, on continuing resolutions or amendments. Shutdowns itself increase the urgency and stakes, so political incentives exist for both sides to come back, right? However, given the sharp partisan division, especially over healthcare subsidies, cuts, spending levels, any agreement may still be difficult to reach. Now, this has been reported by AP News, The Washington Post, and Reuters, and others, right? Kilder, who else has been reporting about this? And it's also, and you could go to the government's own website, the House website, Wiley Law, Federal News Network, the WhiteHouse.gov is also reported on it. PBS is also reported on it. Go.com, But in any case, so here we go. Let's get into this now. There's a lot of people that believe or that have been told that by Republicans, and everybody's heard it. Everyone's heard Republicans insist, and in fact, we can play some of it, that this is about Democrats actually wanting federal tax dollars to go to health care for illegal immigrants. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. See if we can hear that again.
The principle at stake is very.
Here we go.
Good afternoon, everybody. We just had a very frank conversation with the Senate and House Democratic leadership. Look, the principle at stake here is very simple. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut that government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreement.
So this is J.D. Vance. For those that don't know, for those that live, in an alternative universe, this is the Vice President of the United States, and he's stating the issues that he has with the Democrats and why they can't come to a deal, and he's framing it as a Democratic shutdown. So let's take a listen.
Agreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually function. You don't say the fact that you disagree about a particular tax provision is an excuse for shutting down the people's government and all the essential services that come along with it. If you look at what Chuck Schumer has said in the past consistently, it's whatever our disagreements are, let's negotiate with them. Let's talk about them. Let's figure out a bipartisan solution, but you don't shut the government down. In other words, you don't put a gun to the American people's head and say, unless you do exactly what Senate and House Democrats want you to do, we're going to shut down your government. That's exactly what they're proposing out there. Now, we have to remember, they're very frustrated. They say that they're very frustrated about the fact that this negotiation has not taken place until today. But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that's preposterous. We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make one final point here. You will hear a lot from Senate Democrats, from House Democrats about the fact that American health care policy is broken. Well, we know that American health care policy is broken. We've been trying to fix it for the 8 months that we've been in office, but every single thing that they accuse about being broken about American health care is policy the Democrats have supported for the past decade. So if they want to talk about how to fix American health care policy, let's do it. The Speaker would love to do it. The Senate Majority Leader would love to do it. Let's work on it together, but let's do it in the context of an open government that's providing essential services to the American people. That's all that we're proposing to do, and the fact that they refuse to do that shows how unreasonable their position is. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind, but we're going to see. I'll let the Speaker say a few words.
Thank you.
Now, this is Mike Johnson. He's the majority leader. That means Republican because they have the majority of seats in the Congress, right? So MAGA Mike Johnson, as he's called, right? It's a special day for him, too, because he's had a Twitter person threaten to release his Grindr account, right? They're claiming that MAGA Mike Johnson is a gay male who poses as a straight male while, pretending to be anti-LGBT, whatever, fostering anti-LGBT laws while being in the closet himself. But listen to his rationale now on why there may be a shutdown. This just happened yesterday that we're going to follow up on it. Yes, this is really J.D. Vance and really MAGA Mike Johnson, and it's really their own words you're hearing right here. It is not AI.
President Vance, I want to thank the President. Sense thing to do. This is the right thing to do. This is the simple thing to do. By way of review, the House is getting back to the way the regular appropriations process is supposed to work. 12 separate appropriations bills passed through the House Appropriations Committee, 3 off the floor. The Senate doing their work as well. All this in bipartisan fashion, by the way. They passed 3 bills in the Senate. Those bills don't match up exactly. So for the first time in years, since 2019, you have a conference committee that is being constituted between the House and the Senate. This is the way a bill becomes a law. They work out the differences. All this is happening in bipartisan fashion. The problem is we've run out of clock. September 30th is the end of the fiscal year, so we need a little more time. So what we did in the Republican majority is the right, responsible, simple thing. A clean, continuing resolution, a short-term, nonpartisan continuing resolution. It's only 24 pages in length. Leader Thune has a copy if you want to see the exhibit. There's nothing partisan in here. No policy riders, none of our big party preferences, because we want to do the right thing by the American people and allow more time for negotiation. Now, there's a reason that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have come out here, stomped the feet, saying that they can't go along with this. They're trying to bring in extraneous issues. They issued a counter proposal. You should go take a look at what they requested. $1.5 trillion in new spending that is unrelated to the ongoing appropriations process. They wanted to, as you said, restore taxpayer-funded benefits, okay? Hard-working taxpayers in America. They want to take your funds and give that for benefits to illegal aliens. They want to restore that because we got rid of it. They want to prop up left-leaning media outlets. $500 million they threw in on top of that. $1.5 trillion on a 7-week stopgap funding measure. We're not going to do that. They know we can't do that. And we never have in the past. During the Biden administration, there were 13 threatened shutdowns. The Republicans in the minority did the right thing. We kept the government open. We're simply asking for the Democrats to do the same. Again, I want to thank President Trump for the strong, solid leadership. He listened to the arguments, and they just wouldn't acknowledge the simple facts. I want to thank Vice President here for showing his leadership as well. If the Democrats make the decision to shut the government down, the consequences are on them, and I think it's absolutely tragic. We've never said that was a good idea. We never believed it is. And I want you to remember, when we voted in the House, we passed it out of the House. The House has done its job. We did that almost 2 weeks ago. Every Democrat in the House except one voted to shut the government down. That is the record. And don't forget it. I'll ask Leader Thune to step in here.
Well, thanks, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice President. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're talking about. 24 pages. It's a continuing resolution to fund the government through November the 21st.
Leading off our discussion tonight is House Democratic Leader Congressman Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Mr. Leader. And I'm not showing this video that Donald Trump put out about you and...
Somebody in the chat said they passed the CR. Yeah, oh, really? What news agency is reporting that? Let me see. Who said that in the chat here? Somebody said, John Levine said, and yes, they are speaking facts. The House passed a CR. What news network, John Levine, is that reported in that they passed the CR? I'd love to read it, John Levine. So tell me what news network you saw that in. Let's wait for John to tell us where it's reported that the CR was passed. Let's see. I'm interested. I'd really like to know. Okay, well, let's play some of the words from yesterday until John gives us that news agency. Then we can just pull that up. Here we go. I don't think John has it. It doesn't look like John actually has seen it. But if you have, John, go ahead. Mention a news network. We can pull it up
today. This fake video. People are going to see it. They'll see it in other ways. It's easy to find, but it is absolutely disgusting in every way. It is a lie. It's the man you met with has now lied about what you said after that meeting. Could you give us your reaction to that Trump posted video tonight?
It's a disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault on all the things: Medicaid, Medicare, the Affordable Care Act. Republicans are closing our hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics, and have effectively shut down medical research in the United States of America. Clearly, Donald Trump and Republicans know that they have a very weak position, because they are hurting everyday Americans while continuing to reward their billionaire donors, just like they did in that one big ugly bill with massive tax breaks. Democrats are united.
Yeah, I think John, if he is talking about some continuing resolution being passed, I believe he must be talking about the one in November. But that's not the one for tonight. There's nothing reported for tonight, John Levine, about a continuing resolution. So just to make that clear, I saw that and I figured, since that sounds like a serious comment coming from a serious person saying CR, and so I know, okay, continuing resolution. Was there one passed? No, it's not there. So, John, there was no CR resolution passed, like you mentioned before, just to let you know.
In the House and the Senate, and the point that we've made will continue to be clear. We are fighting to lower the high cost of health care, prevent these dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles that will take place in a matter of days unless...
No, John, that's November 21st. You talking about a whole... You're talking about a couple of weeks ago, John, but that's not what this is about, John. I think you're confusing issues, but that's okay, buddy.
Unless Republicans are willing to act in terms of renewing.
In other words, the United States government is what is then called a shutdown, John, in case you didn't get the news.
The Affordable Care Act tax credits.
I see, as you've been speaking on social media just after I started this program tonight, that you posted on social media something that's real. You simply, apparently in replying to Donald Trump, you posted what's up on the screen now, simply saying this is real. And there's Donald Trump with his arm around the guy who said he was Donald Trump's best friend for 10 years, a sex trafficker and raper of children, Jeffrey Epstein. Is that...
Thank you, JVK. John, I don't understand him. He's really feeling it right now.
Going to be your full reply to Donald Trump on the fake video he put out about you and caricaturing you in that video?
Yeah, Leader Schumer and I will have more to say about this issue. But again, this is all designed to be a malignant distraction from people who are determined to continue to rip health care away from the American people. And Democrats are resolved to stand up for it. They are lying about what we're asking to do. We've made clear that federal law currently prohibits.
Is it a fact that the United States government is right now, currently, as we speak, in what is termed as a shutdown? If that's a fact, put a 1 in the chat. If that's not a fact, put a 2 in the chat.
Undocumented immigrants from receiving comprehensive health care paid for by federal American tax dollars. And no one is asking to change that law. But what we are doing is making it clear that we need to protect the health care of the American people. The health care of the American people, which has been under relentless assault by the Republicans throughout this year. It's an assault on the health care of working class Americans, on rural America, on urban America, on small town America, on the heartland of America, and on black and brown communities all throughout America. And it's unacceptable. It's un-American.
Now, Hakeem, he's saying that it's going to affect all Americans, working class Americans, all middle class and poor. It's going to affect even upper class. If you're not a millionaire, you may not be. If you're a millionaire of a certain type, a couple of million, you may not be affected depending on what happens to you, depending on how many emergencies your family has and things like this. But everybody's insurance is going up who has the United States health insurance. And it's just a matter of whether you can afford to pay those hikes. Now, right off the bat, for people that are doing well off, that are doing pretty well. I'm not talking about your billionaires. I'm not talking about the people that are, 50 billion in the pocket. I'm talking about people under that. Right off the bat, they say that healthcare is going to go up 20 to 80% for, the middle class, but for the average person, right? At least right off the bat. But then there's other people where it's going to go up 600 times more. And that's one of the things that the Democrats have been talking about. The Dems, publicly, they've said they've conceded everything except the health care and things attached to health care. And so we're going to take a look into that. But for those that didn't know, the United States government right now is in what's called a federal government shutdown. And what that means is the funding lapses. Many federal agencies cannot legally continue all operations. legally continue. You understand that, right? So that means they won't be moving forward because this is something constructed within the Constitution, within the law, how a shutdown works, right? So non-essential workers are typically furloughed, sent home without pay. That's non-essential workers. Some essential services continue: national security, military operations, air traffic control, emergency issues. Agencies have been directed to execute orderly shutdown plans by the White House. Shutdowns can disrupt things like public health agencies, research, oversight work, agency programs, new grants, non-essential licensing, inspections. Many federal employees pay, although historically, you may not get paid right away. Many federal employees. Congress has authorized back pay for furloughed employees after the shutdown ends. Right, so it's already in law. Where, well, not law, but it's agreed in Congress that once furloughs end, you will get back pay for most of these federal employees, right? So as long as the shutdown lasts, the more damage to services, to worker morale, to economic confidence. So, right. So that is what has occurred. Now, one of the things that people have heard, what's up, Donnie? There you go, bro. I see you. Yeah. Yeah. Yo, Donnie, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you, Yeah, Donnie, for everybody that doesn't know, Donnie's a way backer. Yeah, from the beginning on my channel at least. So, yeah. But in any case, yo, check this out. We have some information I want to get to here regarding that issue of, let me see here. Let me pull that up. The issue of people saying that it is about Republicans don't want their tax dollars going to, you know, illegal immigrants. And so I wanted to find out how true that statement is, because they say it a lot. So let's listen. This is one of the Republican talking points now. We just heard MAGA Mike Johnson say it. And so let's peep it. Let's see what they have to say about it and find out how true it is
that Democrats
or false.
want to give health care to illegal undocumented immigrants is largely false as a general statement, though it has some nuance depending on levels of government and specific policies. Below is a breakdown of what is true, what is false, and why the claim is misleading. What is true? Accurate. 1. Undocumented immigrants are generally ineligible for most federal health insurance programs. At the federal level, undocumented immigrants cannot enroll in Medicaid except for limited emergency services, Medicare, or get subsidies via the Affordable Care Act, ACA, marketplace.
Right. So they're not even eligible for for Medicaid or any of these things. I don't know. This is federal dollars. And I think what a lot of people confuse is what states do on their own independently using state tax dollars, state revenue, versus what the federal government does from federal payroll taxes and earnings on the federal level through federal taxes. So when you're dealing with MAGA Mike Johnson and you're dealing with Schumer and you're dealing with Hakeem Jeffries, you're only dealing with federal government money. You're not dealing with state level money. State money, I have to say it this way because everybody is not an American, right? Obviously. And every American doesn't really know how their own don't know civics well. So let's say this. States collect their own tax dollars and it's called state taxes, right? Now, some states allocate extra funding to their own residents and own citizens that live in their country. So some people get Medicaid and then they might get some supplements from the state too. So let's listen. I think a lot of people, the MAGA people, they hear that some certain states, not all Democrat states, because states are very different from each other, even if they're blue or red. Minimum wage is not the same in every state across the country, not the same across all red states, not the same across all blue states. This will give you an idea. So, but let's listen to this and see how they describe it.
The exception is emergency Medicaid, which in many states covers life-threatening care, for example, childbirth complications, even for people who would otherwise be ineligible. KFF, some states supplement health coverage using state or local funds outside the federal.
Elijah, I don't know what the hell you talking about, but you very confused. States are funded by federal. State taxes and federal taxes are two different things, Elijah. State taxes have nothing to do with federal taxes. And you might be confusing the fact that certain states use state dollars to fund parts of healthcare in their own states, not across the country. And federal dollars is what we're talking about that supports that goes across the country to different states, like programs like Medicaid, Medicare. Just to let you know.
To cover children or pregnant people regardless of immigration status. KFF2. Some state-level programs or proposals do expand health coverage to immigrants regardless of status. A number of states have used their own funds, not federal Medicaid funds, to provide coverage to children or even adults regardless of immigration status.
Yeah, Elijah, Tennessee's a state, so it has state taxes. Yes, they collect state taxes and they collect federal taxes, and it's both state income tax and federal income tax. But Elijah may not be American, so I get that. And a lot of people aren't. So for those that don't know, then there's also sales tax that people pay in the United States of America. Now, I just want to give y'all a heads up. How it's described here, healthcare is very similar to how it works over here in Denmark, except in Denmark, everybody gets access to the healthcare system equally, and everybody gets access to the education system equally, right? Now, when you come into Denmark, you don't have to be a citizen to get care, emergency care. And that's what a lot of these states cover. They don't cover your long-term cancer treatment. They don't cover, illnesses that you just have and you need treatment for over and over and over. No. They're covering emergency care. Emergency care. And in Denmark, it's the same thing. You don't have to be a resident. You don't have to be a citizen. You can even be a tourist. If you get run over by the car, they're taking you to the hospital and helping you to make sure you don't die. Once your vital signs are normalized and stable, then you have to find out how you're going to get care therefrom. You see what I mean? And it's like that in a lot of states too, but not all states. Why? Because that's not what's funded through Medicaid and Medicare. You see? So well, largely, actually, that kind of stuff is not even what, that's why you could be in some states, get hit by a car. And if you don't have health insurance, you might not get there. Or maybe you can. You tell me, maybe all the states do that, or maybe some. I'm not sure. But I know some states, if you don't have health care, you ain't getting to the emergency room flat out in the United States of America. In Denmark, if you don't have health care, you are getting to the emergency room. All emergency essential services will be paid for. And I think when people confuse this issue in the U.S. and they talk about MAGA Mike Johnson, or they talk about the shutdown, or they talk about we don't want our federal tax dollars going to illegal immigrants, it's not your federal tax dollars going to them. That's what they're explaining. You're talking about, if you really know how the system works, you would be referring to a state matter. And again, all states don't give everybody coverage. All states don't even give their own citizens and residents coverage, let alone illegal immigrants. You actually have to have health care, but in most of those states. But let's play some more.
KFF, when Democrats or KFF, some states supplement health coverage using state or local funds outside the federal system to cover children or pregnant people regardless of immigration status. KFF2, using state studies via of what is true care to illegal undocumented immigrants, though it has some nuance depending on levels of government and specific policies. The claim that Democrats want to give health care to illegal undocumented immigrants is largely false as a general statement, though it has some nuance depending on levels of government and specific policies. Below is a breakdown of what is true, what is false, and why the claim is misleading. What is true, accurate. 1. Undocumented immigrants are generally ineligible for most federal health insurance programs. At the federal level, undocumented immigrants cannot enroll in Medicaid except for limited emergency services, Medicare, or get subsidies via the Affordable Care Act, ACA, marketplace. KFF, the exception is emergency Medicaid, which in many states covers life-threatening care, for example, childbirth complications, even for people who would otherwise be ineligible. KFF, some states supplement health coverage using state or local funds outside the federal system to cover children or pregnant people regardless of immigration status. KFF2. Some state-level programs or proposals do expand health coverage to immigrants regardless of status. A number of states have used their own funds, not federal Medicaid funds.
Actually, the references, this is all reference based from actual government agencies and also news reporting outlets, NBC, ABC, the House Gov, White House, these kind of references. So although it's Chat GDP, it's actually referencing these things. Maybe you can't see with your eyes on the screen because the references are small. But if you notice, when you get down to the bottom, they list all the references again. And I can kindly read them to you if you like.
Funds to provide coverage to children or even adults regardless of immigration status. KFF. When Democrats or some state governments propose reforming healthcare access, they may include provisions to expand state health programs further. 2. Some current political disputes or budget proposals are misrepresented or exaggerated. For example, a House reconciliation bill was described by some Republican sources as removing 1.4 million illegal immigrants from Medicaid. However, fact-checkers point out that those 1.4 million people were from state-funded health programs, not federal Medicaid, since undocumented immigrants are not eligible for full Medicaid in the first place. Factcheck.org. The claim that Democrats want to destroy health care by giving it to undocumented immigrants is considered by fact-checkers, e.g. the New York Times, NBC, CNN, to be a false exaggeration or misrepresentation. The Daily Beast. Why the claim is misleading, false in general. Because of existing...
I don't know if any of you have read the Daily Beast, but some of you might think that it's left-wing media. But again, this is all, you can go to the government's website. This is the government information. As a matter of fact, they would be sued, these outlets, if they actually reported falsely, on these matters, because this is, stuff that's written by the government, decided by the government. You can't just publish false information like that, but without getting challenged or fact checked or blah, blah, blah,
Existing federal laws. Undocumented immigrants are largely barred from enrolling in federal health insurance programs, Medicaid, Medicare, ACA subsidies. Much of what the claim may be referring to is state-level expansions, using state funds or proposals to broaden coverage, not broad federal entitlement expansions. Political rhetoric often conflates a modest policy proposal, e.g., extending state programs, with sweeping change, full access to all federal health programs. Fact-checking organizations have repeatedly flagged recent statements that Democrats are trying to give free health care to illegal immigrants as false or misleading. The Daily Beast. Conclusion. So is Trump's claim true or false? False, in the broad form he states it. Democrats are not currently pushing to give full federal health care entitlement, Medicaid, Medicare, ACA subsidies, to undocumented immigrants. The claim exploits ambiguity and conflates state-level policies or limited proposals with sweeping federal change. If you like, I can walk you through specific recent proposals or bills.
Right. So you could see Georgetown Law School is reporting on this. This is ridiculous. NBC is reporting on this. Factcheck.org is reporting on this. KFF is reporting on this. It's like people are in you could always see trolls just like chat GDP, or anything. It's like, just stick to the information. Don't worry about where it comes from. Look at it, because it's coming from a vast number of sources. This is not like one source. You might think that Chat GDP, before it gives you a response, right? You might think that they only go to one source. No, it doesn't do that. It actually goes to many sources, and in fact, everything that it's saying is basically quoting the sources. So you might have a problem with fact check. If you don't believe this information, you have a problem with factcheck.org. Yo, what's up, Ben Yehuda? What's up, bro? I see you. Leonard, what's up, bro? Yeah, you probably have a problem with the Daily Beast. You probably have a problem with Georgetown University Law School. You probably have a problem with KFF, right? News media outlet. You probably have a problem with a lot of outlets. NBC, ABC, goddamn, even Fox News. You probably have. I mean, that's how it is. That's how it works.
Bills that do
You,
touch on
you
this
even probably have a problem with the U.S. House and the White House own website, because that's where it's grabbing this shit from. It's crazy.
and see how much support or opposition there is. You want me to do that?
Okay, let's see. Is there more? Okay, there we go. So, in other words, no, it's not true. Now, the claim that people make when they say, is it illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants, getting health care? You know what I'm saying? Do the Democrats want to give them health care? No, that's not actually what the Democrats are doing. And yeah, you could review the information, rewind the video, listen to it 50 times, 20 times. You can actually go look it up yourself. Try that also, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't come here for information, obviously. But in any case, that's the story. Now, the US, again, factually, is in a government shutdown because the people. No, first of all, how many of you are American citizens in the chat? Put a 1 in the chat if you're an American citizen, and then mention your state also. Let me know. I wanna get some qualifiers here. I can see Jeremy's not from the United States. David's not from the United States. Okay, you didn't put a 1 in the chat. All right. Yeah, okay, you don't have a state. Elijah. Raising Raina, yeah, you too. Also, Leonard, what state you in, Leonard? I know you're an American citizen. Timothy, what state you in? Also, if you're an American citizen. Okay. David's still not saying he's an American citizen. Okay, Elijah, you in Tennessee? Okay, I got you. I appreciate that. It's not that many. Okay. Oh, okay. David says Ohio now. Okay. So now let me ask you, American citizens, is the United States in a federal shutdown right now officially? If the answer is yes, put a 1 in the chat. If the answer is yes, if the United States is in a federal shutdown. If it's not, if it's false, put a 2 in the chat. There you go, Charles. Yeah, I have to ask these basic questions because you never know. You never know. You have to get qualifiers from people. Okay, Sarah. There you go, Sarah. I notice a lot of people that got the most to say don't want to answer that question. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. That is really, really odd, That's really, really odd. But I asked just to know. So that was correct. So we got that one. Now, David, y'all can all see David disagrees. David, for him, the U.S. government, for him, that's just a lie. The U.S. government is not in a federal shutdown, and not only is that a lie to David, but everything else is a lie also. So in any case, now, so I'm presuming everybody's American now. Now, let me ask you this. Here's one more question. Is it the taxpayer that pays Congress, the federal budget? Is it the taxpayer that pays it? Meaning people that go in and click in for a 9-to-5 job, pay federal income tax. Is it the federal income tax payers, the people that pay out of their salary? Are they the ones that pay Congress's salary and the Senate's salary and the U.S. military salary and the president's salary to be president? If so, put a 1 in the chat. If that's not true, put a 2 in the chat. I just want to know, do the taxpayers, the people that go to work and clock in, do they pay for the Congresses, like Hakeem Jeffries, J.D. Vance, Schumerman, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm a little tired right now. But in any case, you know who I'm talking about. All of the representatives in the House, the Senate, the White House, J.D. Vance, the president. Is it you guys that pay their salary? Is it you all that pay their salary? Okay, I just want to be clear about that, because you might get somebody up in here like David that's still like, nope, you don't pay their salary. David, do they pay their salary? Do you pay the salary, David? David Fitzgibbons, do you pay the salary? Do you pay the salary? You see, this is Trump. Man, you out here. Trump takes a salary. So, well, he eats your steak. Are you the one paying for his steak dinners? All right. So everybody's paying for Trump's steak dinner. Now, did you get what you wanted? Are you getting what you want out of your taxes? If you're getting what you want out of your taxes, put a 1 in the chat. If you're not getting what you want out of your taxes, put a 2 in the chat. If you're getting what you want out of your taxes that you go to work every day to pay, put a 1 in the chat. If you're getting what you want. If you're not getting what you want, put a 2 in the chat. Just to be clear, I'm curious about this. John B. votes twice. Okay, that's kind of troll energy, John B. Now, come on now. This is so funny because the opinions vary. If you just ask questions, nobody agrees 100% on any one question. That's the interesting thing here. Wow, that's interesting. But damn, okay. I wonder what that means. In any case, we're going to operate like the government's in a shutdown, even if David doesn't agree. Now, yeah. So let me ask you, do you guys think, is this a positive thing? Do you think the United States of America takes care of its citizens better than any other Western country? If you think the United States of America takes care of its citizens better than any other Western country, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2 in the chat. I'm curious about that also. If you think the United States of America takes care of its citizens, does right by its citizens, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2 in the chat. I mean, because the reason why I can ask this way is because I don't have really a horse in the race in the same way, because I'm living outside of the U.S. So I have health insurance, I have universal education, even in my 50s, if I wanted to go back to school and take another education tomorrow, I could, and it would be paid for, let alone some other things, I have universal health care also. So I don't really, whether you agree with me or don't agree with me, it doesn't affect my life. It doesn't affect me. So I don't have a horse in the race in that way. But, I do care about my country outside of what I get personally. I don't get anything personally from my country. You see what I'm saying? Like, I have to, I got to pay for services just like everybody else. If I want to get a passport, like I have to maintain, and I do have to pay for it. It's not free. Now, there are maybe some services that I get as an American citizen, actually, that that are free, actually, because my taxes don't even pay for those right now because because I pay tax here. So I'm not obligated to pay taxes in the US, only report what I earn, right? But I pay taxes here. So if I need assistance at the embassy, I get the assistance for free, actually. And that's something that everyone who pays federal income taxes in the US pays for too. John B says they're a traveling nurse and no country is better. Damn. Interesting, John B. Good for you. I hope you like it because you would have to because you're the one that pays the taxes. That's a good thing when you like what you pay for. I like what I pay for, and I don't live in the U.S. You know what I'm saying? And I'm seeing a lot of Americans that don't like what they pay for. It's okay. I'm sure there's a few. I'm sure, Donald Trump likes what he pays for. CAPiTOL likes what he pays for. J.D. Vance likes what he pays for. Elon Musk likes what he pays for. Peter Thiel likes what he pays for. Yeah, there are people. Peter Thiel has 3 citizenships, though, and he has a lot of federal government contracts. And Elon Musk also, he's got like 3 citizenships, and he gets loads of federal dollars. He's actually getting money out of your check, out of your paycheck. That's wild. Oh, Jack Mack says, let me guess, you think America should give more free stuff to minorities or people who won't work? No, I don't, actually, Jack. I think the U.S. should do as Americans feel when they vote. And right now, Americans chose it the way that they have it. Now, does that make sense to me? No, because Americans take home less of their money than Europeans do after they pay their taxes and after they pay their monthly expenses, gas, housing. Yeah, on average, the average American takes home less of their money in their pocket after they pay all their expenses and their taxes. So, but if Americans like doing that, if that's what they consider good, then okay. But I don't have a horse in the race because I live outside of the U.S. as an American. So, Oh, let me see. Anthony asked, he said, oh, yeah, skip over my comment. No, I didn't see it. No, Anthony, sorry. The chat is moving fast. I'm not seeing all the messages. Yeah, I don't see your message. But Cool Cat said you're asking the wrong questions. Okay, Cool Cat, ask some questions. Cool Cat. Look, Cool Cat says he didn't ask a question, but he makes a statement. And he thinks that I'm asking the wrong questions. But his statement is you should not even be on here if you're on another country. I'm not on another country, Cat. I'm in another country. Yeah. This is so funny. David says, what skills do you have? I don't know, David. What skills do you have? David, what skills do you have? What skills do you have that make, your opinion interesting? I'm just curious. I would think being an American citizen is what you would need to be, to have some experience and know-how, to know what it's like to be an American citizen. I would think that in itself would be a qualifier. But some people don't. David don't think that. David doesn't think that. That's crazy. David is like, what skills do you have? What skills do you have, yo? Like, hey, in this conversation, the only skill you need to have is awareness about the United States of America and some qualifying features like having lived there. Maybe you were born there. Maybe you grew up there. Maybe your family on both sides of your family, is from there, from the colonial period, like mine. Like I grew up there. I'm born there. My family on both sides goes back to the colonial period. You would think those would be qualifying things to allow you to and to be an American citizen. On top of that, you would think that might give you some insight onto what the U.S. is, how it functions, whether it's functioning well or not, and not only that, if you read the newspapers, that might help you too. But not everybody thinks that. Some people just think, hey, if they disagree with your opinion, then you must not be American or good enough. I don't think that way. I think people that are in all political parties, should qualify to be American if they're American citizens, So whether they're immigrant from an immigrant background, not like my family, but, Sean Hannity's family is immigrant background. Donald Trump's family is immigrant background. Elon Musk's immigrant background. Peter Thiel, immigrant background. I mean, there's a lot of people that are in the MAGA thing that actually have immigrant background. CAPiTOL, immigrant background. Damn, it's so many. You know what I mean? That they qualify to be Americans and don't even have deep roots in the United States of America. And a lot of people support them, and verbatim actually act like they have the same experiences as them. That's not me. Oh, Charlie Kirk. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, here. Why do you guys think Charlie Kirk got shot? Let me know. I think he got shot because he didn't have, for the types of things that he was saying, he didn't have enough security with him. I think when you go around saying things like that to people, openly for a long period of time, traveling around state to state, appearance to appearance, I think it's just a matter of luck. Like eventually something negative is going to happen to you, because basically when you preach hate, you will get it back, and in a country like the United States that has more guns proliferated than any place else on earth per person, the odds of you getting shot are much higher, period, than anything, even without a problem. So even if you don't like things and you telling people what you don't like all the time, you could get shot just for that in the US. And he did get shot. I mean, but that was what I was thinking. But there's other people that agree, that think, no, you won't get shot when you do that. Charlie Kirk was just a one-time event. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe Charlie Kirk was just a one-time event. Yeah. But I myself, just the person I am, wouldn't do what Charlie Kirk did myself. I don't believe. I think he's I think ignorant, Charlie Kirk, and takes it, really is like a grifter, like basically started a fund, just to get money in his pocket by saying hateful things about people. I don't hate people because of their backgrounds. I don't hate people because of their sexuality. I don't hate people because of their color. I don't hate people because of their political parties. I don't hate people because of their economic standing, but that's Charlie Kirk, though. Charlie Kirk has a lot of problems with a lot of different kinds of people. Me, I just see people as people. Oh, look, somebody said, what did Charlie Kirk say to deserve to be shot? I don't know. You should ask the shooter. I'm not the one who shot him. I thought the shooter wasted their life even responding to Charlie Kirk. I felt sorry for the shooter because he's a 22-year-old guy. Basically was taught how to shoot a assault weapon as a child by his parents, allegedly now, because there's loads of people that say he didn't do it now suddenly, but that's how the internet matrix works, but in any case, there's people that believe he's not the one, all types of stuff. But allegedly he, according to CAPiTOL, he wrote why he did it. I think you shouldn't let people control your emotions that way. And because I also think Charlie Kirk's kind of ignorant and it's kind of self-evident. So you don't want to spend all your time on an ignorant person, right? That would be stupid, right? Like, if you think I'm ignorant, why are you spending all your time here? That would be stupid, right? But that's just my thought. I don't hang out in places where I think people are stupid. But in any case, that's my thought about it. That's how I deal with it. But there's a lot of people that, didn't read the FBI notice that CAPiTOL said the FBI found, where it explains why the young man said that he shot him. Now, I think he wasted his life shooting Charlie Kirk. He's going to go to jail the rest of his life over ignorant words that Charlie Kirk said. That's how I look at it. I think if he wasn't trained to shoot assault weapons at such an early age, he probably wouldn't see using a gun as the proper way to handle that. I think you should probably wait till your kids are like 16, to, start engaging with them with weapons, right? Teaching them. But I do believe you should teach. Everybody should learn how to use a weapon, a gun in the United States of America. That's what I believe. I believe everybody should, make sure they get a license. Also, men and women and anyone, hey, that's your right. Just like you should vote. That's your right. But there's a lot of other people in the United States of America that do political shootings and commit political violence. And when you know this, then you kind of realize that there's a problem there, there's a problem there. People are committing violence. So you don't have to agree with these people to recognize that these people exist. Now, these people exist. These people exist in the United States. It is what it is. They exist. You don't have, like myself, I don't agree with any of these people. But I would be stupid to not recognize that these people exist and these people use their weapons. And I think Charlie Kirk, if he was intelligent or halfway intelligent, he might have looked at this data and recognized that he might be putting himself in harm's way. But hey, that's his life. He has every right to live his life the way he wants to. And he did. He lived his life to the fullest. And now he's dead, shot dead by a young man who grew up in Ohio and was taught to shoot assault weapons at a very young age, and by his father, and comes from a strong Trump supporting town. Largely Republican state. Is it Ohio? No, Utah. I'm sorry. It was Utah. A lot of Seventh-day evangelists in Utah too. You know what I'm saying? So, it is what it is. Do I agree with it? No. But these folks, they live their lives. People in Utah, they have the right to choose how they live their lives. And Charlie Kirk, I don't know where he's from. He has the right to choose how he lives his life. And so do I. I live my life totally different from Charlie Kirk. Yeah. Elijah says, who is committing the violence? Well, here's your data right here. There's the data. You can look up any data you want, but this is the data. This is compiled data, So the prosecution project, that's who compiled this data right here. But there's more. You don't have to agree with this data. There's loads of data, There's loads of data. Oh, my God. Let me see here. Let me ask ChatGPT something real quick. Let me see. How many politically motivated crimes happen each year in the USA? All right, let me see something here. And then I can see, oh my God. What? Yo, over 14,000 hate crimes in the USA last year. No, I'm sorry. 11,000 involving 14,000 victims. So in each assault, there was more than one victim. Yeah. And that's not even included terrorism. That's just hate crimes. Yeah, that's a lot of hate crimes. So when you live in a country, where it's you have hate crimes going on, you should be aware of it because people don't necessarily respect other people's opinions, you know. And yeah, you can look up left and right if you're interested in left and right. You can look it up yourself, David. I just wanted to see. It's pretty much a known fact that there's more right wing hate crimes going on, but but for me, that's not my point. My point is no matter who you are, even Charlie Kirk, if you're Charlie Kirk or if you're not Charlie Kirk, if you're left or right, you should be aware that Americans have proven to be intolerant of other Americans' opinions, and it can be from left to right. And they have been known to use their weapons to commit crimes. Like if they don't like your sexuality, maybe somebody will come up and just shoot up the whole place. A gay nightclub, for example. If you don't like people's race, maybe you show up at a church and shoot up everybody in the church because of that. Different things like that. Go to the movie theater and just shoot. This shit is going on. The U.S. is popular for this. The U.S. is actually known globally for that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a fact. It's sad, but it's just a fact. And but if that's how Americans like it, then that's up to Americans to figure out for themselves. Just like if they like paying for congressional members' salaries while the government goes on a shutdown, hey, if they like it, that's okay. They like it, yeah, that's how I feel about it. I learned a long time ago that if you don't have a horse in the race like me, since I'm an American citizen, but I live outside of the U.S., I realized a long time ago, it's not up to me to convince 99.999.999% of Americans. It's more important for me to just be me, live my life the way I live it, and let other people choose for themselves. Because if I don't have to go through the horrors that they have to go through, then fuck it. I can only care, to a certain extent. And I'm not going to go out and shoot anybody if they don't want health care. If they don't want health care, fuck it. You don't want health care. I concede. I have health care. I want health care, and I have health care. So you don't want it? Okay. My neighbor has health care, by the way. My neighbor's kids go to school, too. They go to become lawyers, go to become engineers, whatever they want, whatever they decide themselves. Money is not the problem. So I think that's a great situation. But, if you don't agree, you don't have to live that way yourself. Yo, this chat is so funny, man. Wow. I would really like to know what percentage is trolls, yo. Straight up. I would really like to know that. Oh, Jake Mack says, show all the crime by race. He says, show all the crime by race. Well, who cares? Because, Jack, to be honest with you, most white people hurt white people in the United States of America. Most black people hurt black people. I mean, there are incidences where it crosses, right? But the majority of the things, you'll be surprised how many people hurt themselves and hate other people. It's crazy, but you will be surprised, like straight up. Yeah, you hear what I'm saying, Leonard? It's like, do we have to go through this anymore? You can't hurt people you don't live around. What the fuck? You could only hurt people you're in proximity to. You know what I'm saying? Where the crime happens in Utah, it's probably somebody from Utah. You know what I'm saying? It's they probably look a certain way too. You know what I mean? When there is incest happening in Utah, most of the people probably look a certain way. That's all I'm gonna say. It's crazy, man. I know what I'm gonna do. What what race commits the most crime in Utah? I think this is a petty conversation, but I just really wanted to see about the shutdown to find out if that was true. But I'm gonna entertain Jake for a second because he likes to get into matters of race. Race means a whole lot to him as an American citizen. He's not interested in healthcare. No, 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 no. Can't do that one. Can't talk about things all people need. No, he wants to talk about race. Okay, so look. It's complicated to answer what race of people commit the most crime in Utah because most crime depends heavily on which crime type. Violent crime, poverty crime, or property crime, homicide, etc. And which metric. You hear that? So that would be the same for the country, Jack. It's hard to just put things in one black and white category. So I'm glad I looked it up, though. But even in Utah, it's hard to do. All right. So let's see here. And which metric? Absolute numbers versus rate per population. You with me? Also, race and ethnicity. Wow. Let's see here. Hold on. It is interesting to see this. But okay, data has a lot of nuance, underreporting, differences in arrests versus convictions, and differences in population sizes. But I can put together what data for Utah shows and the limitations. All right, here we go. What data shows for Utah? Here are some findings. In Utah, according to criminal justice data snapshots from Justice Reinvestment Initiative, Black people are arrested for violent crimes at a rate that is substantially higher than white people, around 8 times higher per 100 residents. Okay, arrested. For homicide, specifically 2014 to 2023, age-adjusted rates per 100,000 show American Indian, Native, and Alaskan Native 6.1, Black African Americans 6.0. Okay, so Natives are at the top. Native Hawaiian 5.0, white people 2.0, 2 or more races. Okay, mixed people 2.8. Okay, so for homicides, Black and American Indian populations in Utah have higher rates per capita than white people in Utah based on the data. Limitations and nuance. Population size matter. Utah has a much larger white population, so even if per capita rates were lower for white people, total numbers are often larger. Okay, arrest versus convictions. So that means, right, the amounts are different. So per person, right? That was the last data that we did. White people total numbers are often larger. Arrests versus convictions versus actual offenses. Arrest data can reflect law enforcement practices, reporting, bias, difference in policing. It doesn't always map clearly to actual crime commission. Some data suppressed, right, for smaller racial groups. Native Pacific Islander groups, the data is less reliable or occasionally suppressed due to small sample size. Different crime types behave differently. For example, rates for violent crime might differ from property crime, and rates can vary a lot across different neighborhood cities. What this suggests, based on the current data, Black individuals and American Indian, Alaskan Native individuals in Utah are among the racial groups with the highest rates per capita in serious crimes like homicide. In terms of sheer numbers, because of white people make up the majority of Utah's population, many crime categories might have more white people in it. Okay, so let me just say, give me the raw numbers. Give me the total, and this is just Utah, total numbers. Let's see here. This is Jack who wanted to get into the racial debate. I just decided to come and I wanted to talk about the shutdown and what you think about that. And also people that came in, just let me know what you think about the shutdown. Do you think it's cool? Do you think it's bad? because that affects everybody, to shut down. But let's see here. All right. Now, okay, it says, okay, what is available? Damn. Look. Okay, so between 2014 and 2023, between those 2 years, American Indian, 33 homicides, Asian, 14 homicides, Black Americans, African American, 32 homicides. We talking about Utah. Native Hawaiian, Pacifica, 20 homicides. White people in Utah, 590 homicides. Right. So, yeah. So obviously there's way more white homicides happening in Utah, period. It dwarfs, whites killing whites. It dwarfs all other homicides in Utah, basically. So there's your answer, Jack. I hope you got it. So, yeah, there you go. And now you have it. Like, between the years in Utah of 2014 and 2023, and I'm only asking because Jack wanted to know, American Indian committed 33 homicides. That's in 9 years. In a 9-year period, Native Americans committed 33 homicides in Utah. Asians, 14 homicides. Black Americans, black people, 32 homicides. Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, 20 homicides. And white people, 590 homicides. So in other words, if you visited Utah, you are more likely to be shot by a white person, like straight up. A violent homicide is more likely to be committed against you by a white person, according to the data, right, that I pulled. Now, the data, I can tell you where this data comes from also, in case you want to know. And that's fair. That's fair to know. That's a fair question. I always like to do that anyway. Utah.gov. This is actually government agency data. Okay. USAFacts.org. Okay. Sentencingproject.org. Prisonpolicy.org. NIH.gov. FBI.gov. Sentencingproject. Yeah. 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 All this shit's from the government. Utah government and FBI and, government agencies, federal and state. Police, record.org, cdc.government. Yeah. So just be on point. Like, when you go to Utah, just realize that, be careful. Be careful around these folks, because you could become a victim. I mean, that is more likely that that's going to happen now, that's what it is. So, and I'm pretty sure, like I was trying to say, this is reflected. I mean, I haven't looked into the data in a while myself, in probably like 5 years, because I used to do research myself, for organization, on these kind of matters, by the way. So I do have an idea how this kind of data thing is going to play out. And it does play out that way. Folks, for those that don't know, across the globe, it's one major trend. And that is, people of the same ethnic group tend to harm people of the same ethnic group more than any other group. Just so you know that. Yeah, there is crime that crosses boundaries, that crosses ethnic lines. But most people fucking hurt themselves, their own ethnic group. I mean, really, I'm just saying it. That's what the data puts out there. So, yeah, just so you know. And this thing, it was good that Jack brought this thing up, Jack Mack, about look into the race. All I did was add, let's look into the race of what it looks like in Utah. And it turns out that it is true. It's like, obviously, white homicide dwarfs all other homicide put together. And as a matter of fact, let me see here, 33, 14. Let me pull up the calculator real quick. Let me just pull that up. Let me see something. Let's see here. 33 plus 14 plus 32 plus 20 plus 25, that would be people that are mixed, equals 124. Okay, 124, okay, divided by 590. So all other groups is 124 in Utah between the years of 124 homicides between 2014 and 2023, 114. And then white homicides was 590. Yeah. So that's a wow. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. In any case. Yeah, in case y'all wanted to know. But in any case, let me see more. If the Mormons get you, you just get. Yeah, that's so. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Just, and I guess a lot of them would say, if you don't like it, stay out of here. Okay, fuck it. I stay out of there. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this is so funny. Yeah, but in any case, listen, I myself hope Americans get it together. But I do realize you can't force Americans to get shit together. That's obvious. You can't make them like each other. You can't make them see the logic in supporting everyday American citizens before they support the billionaires. That is a hard one to get Americans to do. And they're pretty much the only Western group of people that do that think that way. All other Western societies pretty much, think about the basics, and for everyone, and building a tax system on that, right? And yeah, and I could tell you myself, living outside, I grew up in the United States of America, in a major city, in the capital city, and which is indicative, of many of the problems in DC are indicative of the rest of the country. Every other city across the country, they're not special. I do know that the United States of America has a lot of violence that I don't experience in Denmark, living in Denmark, paying taxes in Denmark, working in Denmark. Yeah, and I'm happy to have experienced that as a man, as a grown man, and to have shed some of that baggage off of me. You know what I mean? Because it is dead weight, to be honest with you, when you're talking about quality of life, right? That's if you ask me. And I think Americans need to take those words to heart and ask themselves, are they really living the kind of lives they feel they deserve to live? And if they really think their tax dollars are going to representatives that care about them. And I think, and not just representatives, to Supreme Court justices that care about them, presidents, vice presidents that care about them, congressional members that care about them, senators that care about them. I really think all Americans really need to reflect on that and ask themselves if the American citizens are put first in the business of the United States of America. And I say that without qualification, without exception. Every citizen needs to ask themselves that, from every single party, from every single group, independent, Republican, MAGA, even the MAGA fringe of Republican, Democrats, and then people that aren't associated with any party. Even if you're just a taxpayer, I think Americans need to look at that, because I think Americans are used to being told that they're number one. And so therefore they never really look in the mirror at all, because why look in the mirror to see your flaws if you don't have any, right? If you're not aware of your flaws, why look in the mirror for flaws, right? Why would you even have a real conversation about that? And I think, when you got a person like Donald Trump, a guy that says, just grab him by the pussy as a president, I think it's a clear sign of that. When you got a guy who's president, whose best friend was for 15 years is the most prolific sex trafficker the United States has ever known. I think it's indicative of never looking in the mirror, you know? And yeah, I think when you have shit like this going on, people making statements
mental
like
health
this.
and the homeless population, a lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something.
Yeah, I think when this becomes normalized, when you can talk about homeless people this way, you know, saying that, you know, they can get involuntary euthanize injections, you know, basically murdering the homeless people just for being homeless. You know, I think it is really time to look in the mirror, because that homeless person might have been a person that saves your life. That homeless person might have been a person that actually did defend this country. That homeless person might be a person who did something positive and you never even know about it. And to just talk about people that openly on TV is really, really a bad sign. Like really, really a bad sign. Like to talk about other people, you know, somewhere else in another part of the world, I could almost understand that. But this is how bad it is. If you talk about your own people like this, then of course you fucking hate everybody else. I mean, if you talk about your own people like this, your own, just people that are fucking homeless like this, citizens, of course you fucking hate everybody else. Of course. There can be no clearer sign. Like, people that justify that kind of talking really, really, really have a problem. Really have a fucking problem. Like, I don't know how you come back from that, but that man is on TV and he's there every day. People are not offended by that. They're offended by, you know, somebody else. You know, they're offended by, yeah, I don't get, they're offended by Kamala Harris. Let's be honest. Obama, they're offended by Obama and shit. The audacity of healthcare for everybody. Damn. The audacity of healthcare for 80% of the population or 75%. That's thinking too much of yourself, buddy. You know, I mean, yeah, I think there's enough looking around to do. And yeah, this is like really, really scary when you hear people saying things like that. I mean, now, if you co-sign that kind of language from that Fox News talking head, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't co-sign that, put a 2 in the chat. I want to just, you know, see if we're so conquered. Why are you in here hating on me? Yeah, for real. Yeah, why are you hating on me? Yeah, that's deep. Somebody hating on my ass in here? Because we brought here to work, brother. Okay, let me stay out of this, man. In any case, let me tell you, it is possible to pay taxes and have health care at the same time. It is possible to pay taxes in the Western world and, you know, everybody's kid have access to technical school and higher education. You know, it's possible. You know, if you want it, it's possible. And you can still take home more money after paying all of your bills and your taxes if you manage things well. If you have good managers, it's possible for everybody to have that in the United States of America. I think what's going on right now is that the U.S. has some very, very poor managers. You know, the richest country on earth, most powerful country on earth, for some reason can't even do half of what other nations are able to do for their own populations with the tax dollars. And Americans pay basically the same. Y'all pay basically the same taxes I pay and shit, which is crazy. And for some reason, Americans are happy paying it now with a shutdown. They're happy paying it with, you know, with people cutting back on health care. They're happy paying it with, you know, it's I don't know that kind of pride myself. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know that kind of pride. I have a different kind of pride, but it's not associated with that kind of like work harder, earn less pride. I'm not with that kind of pride, you know. Whip me over the back pride, no. Suffer pride, no, 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 no. I'm not with that. I'm with the make sense pride, you know. Manage my dollar well pride, you know. Manage this budget well pride. Make it work for the average citizen pride. Make it make sense pride. I'm with that kind of pride. I'm not with this foolishness, you know what I'm saying? I'm not with this bang my head on the wall every fucking day for a generation and still come up short pride, you know? I'm not with that. I'm not with this. You got to have guns. I mean, you know, there's people that literally have fucking guns and won't vote. I mean, it's like, damn, so you want the Second Amendment, but not the First. It's like, it's so much confusion there. You got people talking about getting rid of immigrants while you got, you know, Elon Musk raiding their treasury. You know what I'm saying? Richest man on the earth raiding people's treasury. You know, it's like, wow. Wow. He got 3 passports. People are more loyal. So many Americans are more loyal to Elon Musk, and he got 3 different citizenships than they are to their own fucking neighbor on their block. It's like, wow. You know, he's a naturalized American. People are more loyal to him than they are to another American in the same situation they are in. That's like mind blowing. That's like mind fucking blowing. And to make it worse, it's like Elon Musk don't even have to tell these people the truth about nothing, and they still be loyal to his ass. It's like, you know, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's what life is what you make it. And you literally make it that way for yourself. Yeah, it's crazy. And this picture is indicative of a shutdown too. Because look, Elon Musk, he's going to get, the worst that's going to happen to him is his companies that get all these federal tax dollars. You know, the worst that's going to happen to him, for a temporary moment, they won't get funded. But as soon as the government is open again, all that back money is getting paid to his companies. All that back money that's getting paid out by the American taxpayer, federal taxpayer, he's getting it all. He's getting his steak dinner. He's got his health care. He's going to lie to you about his shit, all he want to do. And you ain't never going to have access to him in your entire fucking life. But you will defend Elon Musk, you know, 24/7. You know, it's like, wow, this shit is crazy, boy. Like, you know, yeah. It's crazy. Elon Musk told people he doesn't know nothing about Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, okay. And I told people, sorry, he knows. He definitely knows. He's definitely down with it. He's definitely down. You just don't know what part he's down with, but he was down with the scam. He's down with the scam, and you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. That's how it works, you know. So down with the scam. It's sad. You know, it is what it is. But where is this? Let me ask one other. Here it is. Here it is. Check this out. Y'all see this? Y'all see that image? How many of y'all think this is the same image? Is that the same place? Is that Mar-a-Lago? Did this picture get drawn in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book? Is this a picture of Mar-a-Lago? Put a 1 in the chat if you think it's a picture of Mar-a-Lago. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. Here's Mar-a-Lago right here. I don't know if you can see the difference. That's Mar-a-Lago. And then this is the picture from Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book. You know, can I make that smaller? Right, here it is. Is that Mar-a-Lago? 2003? I think it is. I think it is. But in any case, yo, I'm out. I came on at a different time today. I just wanted to let people tell me, what was the deal? Did it really happen? Like, did the shutdown happen? And or if it's something that was averted. And I guess y'all saying that it was averted, or no, that it wasn't averted, that it really actually happened. And yeah, that's good enough for me. But I really hope people get it straight. You got to make choices that are best for you. At the end of the day, that's what I do. But I really, as an American, as an American with deep roots, I really, really, really feel bad for my country and my countrymen. And I'm going to tell you, as an American, I'm fucking embarrassed. I've never been embarrassed in my life of being American. And I'm not the kind of American that walks around with my chest out like, I'm American, I'm American. Nah, I don't do that. I don't do that. We all on this globe the same. You know what I'm saying? We're all equal on this globe. But I've never felt more embarrassed to be an American. In fact, I've never felt embarrassed to be a fucking American. But I do right now. Right now, I feel really, really embarrassed to be an American. And, that's something that I know I share with a lot of other Americans. But I'm just curious how many Americans really get why that would be. Because I feel like the ones that don't feel embarrassed, it's because of false pride. But in any case, I'm gonna be out. I'm gonna catch up with you guys later. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna be on the desktop tomorrow, so I will be able to pull up more information freely. But I appreciate everybody. For those that don't know, last month I got like 2 million views, and that was like, damn, for a small YouTuber, that was a good look. But I appreciate everybody coming out. Press the like button and subscribe if you've never been to this channel before. Subscribe, and I hope we get through this together. I don't know. I know for a fact Americans, no matter what party you're for, I don't think you should be treated this way. I think all Americans should have health care, period. I'm talking about all American citizens. I don't see why that's complicated. I think all Americans should have equal access to higher education, technical school, trade school, university, whatever it is. If you have the grades for it, if you can do the minimal, entry exam or whatever, I believe in the United States of America, you should be able to do that. I believe health care and education shouldn't have anything to do with how much money you have, how much money your parents have, or how much money you have. I think in the United States, we can do way much better for the average American, no matter what color you are, no matter what about your background, your sexuality, your political party, what city you come from, whether you like living in the countryside, hunting, or whether you live in an urban city, grew up in an urban city, whatever, that's what I believe, because I've seen it done in all other Western countries. So, and I also believe when you have those things, healthcare, when the citizens' tax dollars go to making sure everybody has health care, making sure everyone has access to education, I believe that in itself makes the society more safer and people less prone to guns and gun violence and crime, in general. That's my philosophy. There's a lot of people on earth that share that philosophy. So I'm not alone in that, but I'm also very aware that there's a lot of Americans that don't share that philosophy and really believe that their tax dollars should go to Elon Musk. Yeah. But on that note, I'm out, y'all. You can give your money to him if you want. Yeah. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace, y'all. Y'all be good. Release the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files if you can, or keep them a secret. You know, you can keep them a secret too if you want. That's your choice. Power to the people.
They want war. Crying babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't out to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack, and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute, you might hear, but they won't, cause the TV's whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't hear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguise is religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.